Hey harmonizers, welcome to this update video of Dulcie, who's been getting ridden by a bunch of different people because now that she is sold and going to be going down to her new owner, we're going to be dropping her off in Pennsylvania on our way south to Florida. And we want to make sure she's used to a bunch of different people so that way her new owner can feel comfortable getting on her. Her new owner has said that she wants her for trail riding, which is going to be awesome because I think Dulcie will really enjoy that. So we're doing a lot of things to help make sure she's super comfortable, just doing random things that you might do out on the trail, and that she's just really easygoing. So this is Annalise riding her, and who's ridden her a couple times. So she's doing some obstacles, picking up different things, and this was her first time being ridden in an English saddle. Now, Annalise said she felt kind of tippy forward and it didn't feel the most comfortable. So ever since this ride, we've just stuck with the Western saddles and haven't bothered with doing more English stuff on her because it's more important that we just work on getting her comfortable with different people. And we don't really need to be messing around with different types of tack. And if other people are more comfortable riding in the Western saddle, well, then that's totally fine. It doesn't really make a difference to the horse. The riding cues are all the same. I always find it interesting when people ask me when horses are for sale or things like that, and they'll say, okay, does the horse go English or Western? I'm like, well, are you talking about the saddle? Because any horse can ride in an English or a Western saddle. As long as it's a fitting saddle, they should be able to do either. And the cues for a lot of Western is very much the same as English. So when you're asking, does a horse do English or Western, are you really asking, does the horse neck rein? Because that is usually specific to Western. Or some horses that are very highly trained Western go exclusively off of leg cues, like a lot of reining horses and cutting horses. They'll ride just off of leg cues. Even Western pleasure horses will learn things called spur stops, for example, where they'll actually use their spurs to stop their horse because they don't want to use the reins at all for the pleasure classes. So depending on what you mean when you ask, does the horse go English or Western, I think it's good to clarify that, but also not be confused that the saddle really makes no difference to the horse at all, and you can use the same cues with your reins and legs for a lot of Western competition as you do English competition, especially when we're talking about the lower levels or the schooling levels. If you're doing mountain trail shows or introduction, like the lower levels of extreme cowboy racing, you don't need to ride one-handed or anything like that. So this is her just going around in the English saddle, doing some things, the pulls, the different obstacles, and Annalise is being, slow and cautious because she starts a lot of horses. You can see Treasure in the background there doing some things with Bree, and she wasn't really sure what to expect, and she was like, oh, she's like a lot better than I thought she was going to be. Like, she's a lot more trained and confident and comfortable than she originally thought. And this was when it was still pretty warm, so it's kind of weird. At our farm, we had, beautiful weather, and it was pretty warm. It was pretty nice. Our horse shows went really nicely. It wasn't cold at all. And then all of a sudden, the temperature just dropped below freezing, and we got dumped on with over a foot of snow, and it's just been kind of crazy here after this. So we're working Dulcie up to being able to go out on the trails. That was our goal. So we had lots of different people riding her, doing lots of different obstacles and things. And then we were supposed to go for our first trail this past weekend, but there was a snowstorm where we literally got just under a foot of snow in one day. So we did not go out for our trail ride as planned. So in the last 2 weeks before we take her down to her new home, we're going to try as much as we can whenever the weather cooperates. We'll get out for some trail riding, which I think will go pretty easy because Dulcie has been, she's gone off-site a lot. She's had a lot of exposure through groundwork, going the places that she did, traveling a lot, lots of the obstacle parks. So she's had a lot of off-site exposure. It's just a matter of doing it while being ridden. And so this is another student riding her now. This is Brooklyn. So we had the coaches riding her. So we had Fenya riding her, and Sarah rode her, and Annalise rode her, who are all coaches. And then we asked some of our more advanced students to come up and do some riding on her. So that was Brooklyn who rode in that last little video clip. This is now Abigail riding her. And we also have had some other people on her as well since then. So this is doing some little forehand turns. And this is a good exercise to just get them moving their hips and getting them loosening up a little bit and making sure they're listening, where you walk forward and then you do these forehand turns to change direction, and you do the forehand turns where you turn your horse into the wall. Anytime you get that horse crossing their legs, especially their back legs, it helps to get them relaxed and just get more supple and soft in their body. So she's just doing this exercise. And it also helps with just making sure the horse is really comfortable with your leg going on them, and they don't think that legs just mean go. So here she's doing the little turn of the hips and doing the walking forward and little changes of directions. This is now some work with the poles and doing some sideways stuff. So whenever we're having our students ride and we're training horses, we really want to make sure it's not just go and whoa. We don't want the horse anticipating to just go forward. We want the horses listening to the cues that we're asking them to do and waiting for what it is that we're trying to communicate to them. And the best way to do that is to make sure that you're doing lots of different things, no matter what it is that you're doing. But I always like to say, stay out of a routine and stay in a conversation, because the more you have a routine, the more that your horse just starts to anticipate what they should be doing. And it's good to repeat different behaviors, give your horse a chance to understand what you want of them. But if you're doing that too much, it definitely causes them to just expect certain things to happen. So that was some of the little sideways work she's doing. Here's a little bit of the trotting with Abigail. And so we've been doing sitting trot, posting trot, all sorts of things, working on full laps around the arena and doing some trot circles and different things going around. We still do the canter on the lunge line, which I don't have any video of because usually I'm holding the lunge line while I'm doing that. So it's hard to hold a lunge line and a phone at the same time. It's a little tricky. So, and that's just because, we've got students riding that are not horse trainers, and I just want to make sure everything stays very, very safe. I think the worst thing that could happen at this moment of time in her training would be that we have somebody on her who's not, expecting her to stop quickly or whatever it is, and they fall off, and then all of a sudden Dulcie learns that people fall off, and then she's going to a new owner in 2 weeks. That would be absolutely horrible. So we want to make sure everything's super safe, that Dulcie's relaxed, that Dulcie knows that people ride, lots of different people ride, and there's no need to be upset. So we do lots of trotting work, walking work, and she's getting better. We're doing, as you can see here, she did trot down to walk, because normally we would trot and she would halt and get that cookie right away. But now we're asking her to walk on and then get the cookie. And that's helping with her not stopping so suddenly, which is super cute that they do that in the beginning. But it's because they're like, oh, yay, cookie, I did the right thing. Now I'm going to get my cookie. And as they progress in their training, we want to make sure that they can do a little bit of a smoother transition. I want to make sure that's not going to be too abrupt for her new owner that's going to be working with her. Here's a little bit of trot going the other way. Sometimes Dulcie will do that little kind of pull on the reins thing, so we want to make sure that they're not letting go of the reins as they're going around. And for the most part, she's like super easy, super slow. There's just a few little things that horses do when they're green and they're young and they're inexperienced. The little head toss to be like, hey, can I pull the reins from you, or make sure I have my head the way I want to carry it. And when we're first starting them and we're establishing all these miles, it is really great to let the horses choose where to carry their head. But we want to make sure that we don't allow a bad habit to form of pulling the reins out of your hands. So you want to make sure that whoever's riding is holding the reins firmly, in the sense that they're holding them steady in their hands, because that can be a bad habit to overcome. And at the same time that they're soft with those reins, that they're not holding on to the horse for balance. So we've been letting just our advanced students riding her, and that's been going really, really well. So I hope you guys enjoyed this little Dulcie update, and I'll keep you posted about her trail ride.